You must be David.
Good to meet you, Steve.
David, I have dreamed for years of coming here to Butchart Gardens, and now that I'm here, it's everything I imagined and more. It's just gorgeous.
Well, we're glad you're enjoying it.
How did this garden come to be?
Well, it came to be because it was an industrial site. This was where Mr. Butchart, Bob Butchart, came from Owen Sound in Ontario to open a cement factory to manufacture Portland cement here on the west coast of Canada, which was the first time that it was that was done.
Okay. And once a lot of that material had been mined, there was this big hole here.
Yeah, this was just part of the estate, and this particular site here, which is now the sunken garden, was indeed a limestone quarry, and the rock was excavated between 1904 and about 1908 when the area was exhausted. And at that time, Mrs. Butchart, Jenny, in her wisdom, decided that the task of making this into a sunken garden would be an aim of hers, and she certainly did that.
Okay, so a pretty good undertaking. And she started out just gardening with a few plants?
Yes, she did, around her home, which as at the beginning of your walk around the gardens, that was their home. And she did make a little rose garden and planted some sweet peas around her little private area, which is still there today, the private garden. Then she branched out and made a Japanese garden over towards the sea, a long way away from where her husband was blasting rock and grinding it up and so forth, so away from the industry. And then as time went along and the quarry became an area suitable for her project, she went in here in about 1908 and brought in topsoil, made the beds very much the way you see them now, and planted them.
Okay, so this lady, Jenny, actually built some of these raised beds that are here today.
Yes, she had a lot of enthusiastic help from her husband, in that the guys from the cement plant would come up and help between loading boats with cement as they went up and down the island and the coast, and they would come in and help stack the rocks and put on the topsoil. So there was a lot of labor there, but she was always there herself and was a very hands-on person.
Okay, so even in the early days, I guess there were lots of people who would come and take a look at the garden.
That's right. People from Victoria and elsewhere were always invited to come out and just walk into the garden and bring a picnic or whatever they wished to do and enjoy the fruits of Mrs. Butchart's labor. Okay. And of course, as time went along and the gardens became more sophisticated, it even was part of the local provincial government and even the federal government as part of their entertainment of dignitaries and people who would be visiting in important positions this part of the world. They'd come to Vancouver Island. They'd always be asked if they'd like to go out and visit Mr. and Mrs. Butchart's garden. So there has been a long list of people such as the Emperor of Japan and the King of Siam who came. And since that time, we've carried on doing the same thing very much under their grandson, to whom they gave the gardens. After the war, we have carried on entertaining dignitaries who come here. Mrs. Gandhi was here, Queen Juliana, and we've had many modern political icons.
Okay, quite a number of guests and a display garden for quite some time.
Yeah.
Today, how many acres does the garden encompass, and how many employees?
Yeah, the garden is about 50 to 55 acres of intense horticultural cultivation, and that's of a 135-acre estate, so there's plenty of room for nurseries, greenhouses, water storage, reservoirs and so forth. We have 55 gardeners who work year-round here, and the staff in the summer increases to around 500 to 600.
Wow.
Because of all the car parking, the entertainment on stage, the different restaurants and concessions that are operating. Most of those seasonal help are school and university students.
Okay. How would you describe this garden? What type of garden would you call it?
Well, it's more than what I've heard it described as more or less an Edwardian garden, which is difficult to explain, but that would describe a series of different rooms with a different style, and you move from room to room and encounter different viewpoints and so forth. There are specifically 5 gardens, being the rose garden, Italian garden, Japanese garden, the sunken garden in which we are now, and then the concert lawn area, which has evolved over the years into being a nice location for dahlias especially. So it would just be a collection of different garden styles.
All right, well, it certainly is beautiful. How many visitors do you guys get per year?
Well, we've had over a million visitors each year for the last so many years.
Wow, that is incredible. Well, I can certainly see why. David, this is a beautiful place, and I'm going to go take a look at some of these other garden areas.
Well,
Thanks so
you
much.
enjoy it. Bye-bye, Steve.
Bye-bye. Butchart Gardens features something for everyone. The setting alone is spectacular. There are tall conifers all over the place, including a few towering redwoods that are just truly amazing. There are several water features on site. One of my favorite was a nice dancing fountain in a large pond. At the edge of the water, there are some exquisite, huge-leaved gunnera plants.
Oh yeah.
Nearby is a quaint, shaded garden that was installed recently. This area features ferns, hostas, several other shade plants. There are even a few mining carts to sort of show the history of the garden. A long walk of dahlias is truly amazing to see this time of the year. I think there are colors of almost every hue. They have their very own bedding plant nursery where plants in the displays can be quickly changed out if they need to be. Butchart also features a Japanese garden that is one of the most beautiful that I have ever seen.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. You can also find more recent videos on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.